And good Tuesday, everybody. Glad you're with us for another episode of Golf Live here on YouTube, streaming on YouTube as well as Twitter. Trey Wingo here with Justin Ray, as we will be here every week during the golf season, getting you caught up on all the things that you need to know about the game we all love, play, obsess, and hate at the same time. It is a big week in golf. It is a big week, Justin, on the PGA Tour. We are here at they are there. The players are at the TPC Sawgrass for the Players Championship, and it is not technically a major, and that debate has been started again by the PGA Tour, but it certainly does feel different than just your standard tour event.
Yeah, I don't think it needs the five-letter adjective before it to be a great event. I mean, the
Yeah,
identity of the Players' Championship to me is ironclad. It's a world-class championship golf course that everyone's familiar with, an unbelievable field, and one of the richest, most colossal purses in golf. It's a damn good golf tournament. I don't think it necessarily needs that designation, that five-letter designation major ahead of it. Now, the people pulling the purse strings at the PGA Tour and SSG, I totally understand why they would want this return on
sure.
investment. You get a different designation for this championship. It would be the only one that they own because they don't currently own any of the four majors on their schedule.
See, now Justin, I think that's a really important point, and I'm not sure a lot
Yeah,
of people that are casual golf fans understand that. The
right.
PGA of America runs the PGA. Augusta National runs the Masters. The US Open is run by the USGA. The PGA Tour does not have control or controlling ownership over any of the four majors in golf.
Nor the Ryder Cup. The PGA of
Yeah,
America
or the
owns the
Ryder Cup.
Ryder
That's
Cup
the
as
yes,
well, right?
exactly.
So if you're looking for a bigger return on your investment, next TV deal comes along. Hey, we possess this major championship. That's a really big event, and look, that distinction clearly it looks like it's going to be very important moving forward. But for now, it's just kind of an inorganic marketing tactic to me until we get some real legs behind it. But to me, the identity of this championship is set in stone. It's a great event, an unbelievable week. It's something that gets us amped up towards the first major of the season at Augusta National. And in and of itself, standing alone, it's a great championship.
No question about it. It's one of the most diabolical golf courses you can ever play, and we have a lot to discuss about that coming up here very shortly. We're also going to be joined a little bit later by Zach Johnson. Zach, of course, a two-time major winner on tour, won his debut event on the senior tour, so we'll be hearing from Zach a little bit and maybe get some perspective on him about what Keegan Bradley is now facing after losing a Ryder Cup in Bethpage Black, and how Zach maybe could give him some advice on how to deal with that, and maybe how the captaincy is selected going forward. We'll have that for you. We'll also get into a deep dive of what happened this past week on the PGA Tour with Akshay Bhatia and his incredible short game, running away with it at Bay Hill and then fighting back and beating Daniel Berger in the playoff there. We'll also talk about what's going to happen tomorrow, which is going to be a huge thing in golf. You know, we've sort of danced around this subject for a long time, how the golf season is going to change, how the events are going to change, the number of events, how this thing is going to be started and finished. That's all going to be addressed in Brian Rolap's press conference tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. And that's something that we'll discuss a little bit later as well. But the focus of this show right now at the moment is the Players Championship. And Justin, one of the things that people there have noticed is that how thick the rough is right now down there at Jacksonville. What are your thoughts on what they're trying to do with the rough on the course at this point?
Yeah, the pictures speak for themselves. It looks like there was an intentional dial up of the severity of that rough. And when you have the two fewest fairways hit by champions here in the last couple of years, Cam Smith and then Rory McIlroy last year, the two fewest number of fairways hit by a winner at the Players Championship. Okay, maybe we need to dial this up a little bit, ratchet up the intensity. I will say that, it was a severe enough penalty for somebody like Akshay Bhatia, who was the 36-hole co-leader there last year. He was 13 under on the par fours and fives when he hit the fairway and five over when he missed the fairway. So an 18-shot
Yeah.
difference there. That's a pretty significant penalty. But that being said, if you're going to, completely you turn a hit fairway into a proper penalty, whether or not you miss it, that reflects more of a major championship, a U.S. Open, a PGA, where the rough is really dialed up. So, my line about about TPC Sawgrass is that it's the greatest test that has no answer key. There's so many different ways that you can go about, succeeding on this golf course. You can, I mentioned that Cam Smith and Rory missed a bunch of fairways. Scotty Scheffler, in between that, led the field in fairways and won the tournament. Approach play, the last 6 winners have all been in the top 8 in strokes gained approach. Before that, Webb Simpson lost strokes to the field and won by 4 shots. The point is, this is a puzzle you can solve in a million different ways, and that's why you can get young Adam Scott and Fred Funk winning it in consecutive years, driving the ball about 60 yards apart. There's just so many different ways to unlock this puzzle, and that's what makes it one of the most unpredictable, probably for my money, the most unpredictable week of the entire year.
Justin, if only you had some sort of basis of statistical knowledge that you could share with our viewers, I think it would be really helpful. So if you could work on that would be good, I think, for the program. But it is interesting because you mentioned fewest fairways hits, and you mentioned our defending champ, Rory McIlroy, and there is some question about what Rory's going to be able to do and maybe how long he's going to be able to participate and try and defend his championship here from a year ago. For those that didn't see it or were not aware, Rory withdrew from the Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill on Saturday with a bad back. He is still not at Sawgrass. He's getting treatment at home. Todd Lewis relayed that information from Rory on Golf Channel and Golf Live, live from earlier today. And there are real concerns. He's going to show up tomorrow, I believe, and he's going to hit some balls, which means he's going to go out there. Should everything go okay with the back spasms that he's having, and go out there and tee it up without playing a practice round. Now, it certainly helps that obviously this is a guy that knows the course. This is a guy who's played this event and played this championship many, many times, has won there. But when you have a back issue, now I think you and I, that might be the one thing we have in common with Rory McIlroy. We have dealt with
not much, but yeah.
we both have dealt with back issues in our past, and Todd Lewis is reporting he made sure to point out that it was musculature, not skeletal in nature, which means it's a pulled muscle basically, or back spasms, and those things can flare up at any time. And you can feel good 1 second and then one turn wrong way. I know a guy that threw out his back once when he sneezed. So it's a really tricky situation that there really is no answer right now as to, well, how do you think he's going to play? Because it could go at any second.
Yeah, I had a really bad back injury about a decade ago. And I remember one of the worst days I had was I turned over in the bed at like a weird angle.
How dare you?
Exactly. And I was done. I was just, I can't move. So yeah, look, it's unpredictable. It's super unpredictable. It's good to hear that it's not skeletal, that it is muscular. That's something that he's got doctors that can dial in on, and he's been getting treatment the last couple of days. But you wonder, how many eggs has he put in this basket as opposed to preparing for the other big championship he's defending less than a month now at Augusta National. So this is obviously a big week, and something he really wants to do is compete and play and defend his title. But you certainly got to take a look at the big picture, the next, the rest of the season, the next 6 months, and not just, hey, we're going all in for the Players' Championship. And I'm sure he'll make the best decision available to him. But those injuries are unpredictable, and in the back and with a golfer, it's always kind of dicey. So hopefully he's able to make it happen. But I'm not too optimistic after hearing some of the reports the last couple of days.
Well, what's interesting too is, in this discussion that we've had, and the PGA Tour has put out there with the promos that they created that basically said March is going to be major. It did revive the debate about, do we think this is the 5th major? Do you think the Players' Championship should be the 5th major? And, Rory was asked that question. And he said, yeah, I've won it. I mean, it's a great championship. I don't think it's a major. So to me, if that's the mindset that Rory brings to the equation here, I have a feeling I know which one he's trying to protect more than the other. I think it would be Augusta over the Players' Championship. Now, other people may feel differently, and they may have their feelings why they would consider this one a bigger conquest, and I understand that. But it's pretty clear from what Rory has told us that if push comes to shove, and you have to sacrifice one for the betterment of the other, it certainly feels like he will say, I'm just not ready to go this week. I need to be all in to prepare for Augusta National.
For sure. There's a great anecdote years ago that Steve Williams, Tiger's old caddy, gave, and he was leaving a bunch of putts short at TPC Sawgrass, and Steve asked him, like, why aren't you changing your approach and how you want to hit these putts to get them to the hole? And Tiger said, I'm not changing my putting approach before Augusta National. So, I mean, look, that's how the greatest players of their respective generations or close to it with Rory are going about it. And, that's kind of the way, if that's the way they see it and the way they approach it, then, maybe he dials it back a little bit. And if he has to, take a rest and isn't able to defend his title, he sits it out this week. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, again, you got a clear indication from what he said, but that's a great little anecdote about Tiger, and just shows you his mindset, right? The whole process is because, he's always said, hey, these other things are nice. It's about the majors, and he's going to do.
And when
in
Jack
fact,
was on, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a great story, actually. Rory went to Tiger's house. Now, I'm just remembering this conversation because you brought up Tiger in this situation. Rory visited Tiger's house, and he had all his major championships there. And he said, where are the other trophies? He goes, well, I don't know. I think my mom has some in her house. There's some in a, like, he had a different classification for where he puts the championships that he's won, whether they're majors or not.
The caste system of award.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should all be so lucky
Right.
to have that situation. All right. That being said, before we move on, is there a player in the field that statistically you really like this week?
So this is, for my money, the most unpredictable week of golf. So it's tough to really narrow down something, but I'll go with a guy who has the most top tens at the Players Championship of anyone since 2016. He also has the best birdie average of any player here the last 5 years, and that's Hideki Matsuyama. Has been playing some really good golf. Should have won at Phoenix if his driver doesn't kind of go awry those last 9 holes. So I'm big on Hideki this week. I'm also big on Sepp Straka, who struggled Sunday at Bay Hill, but he's got some great numbers at the Players Championship over the last several years. And I'm really interested to see how Akshay Bhatia does. Coming off that first big win, contended here last year, had a really good week, was a little wild off the tee in rounds 3 and 4, and ultimately didn't make the playoff. I think he finished 2 shots behind JJ and Rory. But if I've got to bet on one guy this week, I'm going to go with Hideki Matsuyama.
And then, of course, you had this great stat that you put up on your Twitter feed about Scotty Scheffler, the last 3 years at TPC Sawgrass. Score in relation to par, first. Greens and regulation, first. Bogey avoidance, first. Par 3 scoring, first. Strokes gained, ball striking, first. Now, he's not actually firing on all cylinders right now, but you want to talk about horses for courses.
Not bad.
Not bad in what he's been able to do. All right, lots more to discuss on this episode of Golf Live. Thanks for joining in. Again, we're streaming live on YouTube and on Twitter. X if you have to. It'll always be Twitter to me. Make sure you drop some comments and questions. We're going to get to those at the end of the show. We want to hear from you. But when we come back after this short break, we'll be joined by a man who knows a thing or two about winning majors. Actually, he definitely knows 2 things about winning majors, and he just completed his senior championship debut and came away with a win in his first event on that tour. That's Zach Johnson. Zach will join us right after this. We're coming back here on Golf Live. Hey, before we get to the next segment, just want to clue you in on something. If you've got a question for us, do us a favor, throw it in the super chat right here on YouTube. And I mean this, we answer every single super chat, not just the ones that are easy, not just the ones that are flattering, because we don't really have any of those. We'll answer all of them. If you're taking the time to support the show, the least we can do is respond. Just let's make sure it's not anything profane, because, it's a family show. So if you've got something on your mind, drop it here in the super chat and we will respond. So if you consider yourself more of an audio person, look, I totally get it. The Trey Wingo network is now available on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, etc., wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen in the car, gym, on a walk, wherever you carve out that little space where you need to just get away from everything. Same conversations, just without the camera. Hey, subscribe across the platforms and share it with your family and friends. Follow the Trey Wingo Network. Hey, if you're new here, first of all, welcome. I'm glad you found us. We launched this platform really at the beginning of September, late August in 2025, right before the start of the Ryder Cup, which did not go well for the U.S., but this platform has gone way better than we thought it would. It's grown so fast, we really can't believe it. We've had incredible conversations with so many people across sports. Justin Thomas and Kevin Kisner, Brandel Chambly, Dan Lanning, Mike Elko, Daniel Jones, just to name a few. And here's what I'll say. Our conversations are different. It's not the same stuff you'll see everywhere else. We try and take you behind the curtain a little bit to get to know the people we're talking to instead of just asking them rote questions about their last round of golf or their next game. We go a little bit deeper to get real information. No bits, no bullshit, just a ball podcast. And if you've just found us, there's a huge library of conversations waiting for you to consume. We hope you enjoyed them. All right. Thanks for continuing to watch Golf Live as we are here every Tuesday, 4 o'clock Eastern, streaming on Twitter and YouTube. Justin Ray and Trey Wingo here. And we're delighted to be joined by a man fresh off his debut appearance on the Champions Tour and came away with a win. He's also won a few times on the PGA Tour. Delighted to talk to Zach Johnson. Zach, thanks for being with us. How are you?
Gentlemen, I'm great. Yeah, thanks for letting me come on. Very special.
Congratulations on your debut on the Champions Tour and coming away with a win. What were your expectations going into that?
You know, I really didn't have many. If anything, my mentality was, man, who's in the field? Who am I going to see that I haven't seen in a while? I mean, it was more of like the relationship side of things than even the competition. My game's been pretty good. I mean, as far as what I've been working on and what I've seen, even last year was okay at times. But the beginning of this year, I played a couple tournaments on tour, made a couple cuts, but I felt good about my game. So like the competition thing really wasn't like on the forefront. It was more like, okay, I got to get used to this. I got to, kind of get used to the cadence and the rhythm of the week because it's different. 3 rounds, 2 pro-ams, et cetera, et cetera. Like that was where those were my mental thoughts and my expectations. But never did I'm like I always entered a win, but I didn't think it necessarily happened. I was just kind of staying right where my feet were. I mean, if I'm going to be honest.
Well, how did that it's really interesting what you bring up. What the whole cadence of the thing is completely different. How do you adapt to that? Like it's because it is a different mindset. It's a different sort of way of going about it. And
Right.
golfers are creatures of habit. If nothing else, we are creatures of habit. So how did dealing with those changes sort of affect you?
Right. I mean, you actually nailed it. When it came to, yeah, I think the only difference, call it first tee to 18th green, was this one was more unique because we did have NFL Hall of Famers, but I played in pro-ams. I played in the Amex and AT&T, and so that wasn't that uncommon. But the biggest difference was, do I take a cart or do I walk? That's a pretty awesome question to have to answer. And I did a little bit of both. So, I figured that part out, I think, and that may evolve and change. But to answer the truest part of your question, the cadence, the rhythm of the week, I know, depending upon what the tournament was or is, what time my pro-am tee time will likely be on Wednesday. I know what I'm doing Monday through Wednesday to prepare for Thursday through Sunday on the PGA Tour. It's like I didn't have to tell my caddy. Like it's such a routine and a I would say a very harmonious rhythm that it just happens. So it's different, and I'm gonna have to get used to that. I don't have the physio side of the thing down yet either. I've had individuals that I've traveled with over the years that have helped me, play and not get hurt, if you will. So I've had to kind of figure that part out a little bit, and we'll continue to. But it's going to be different. I'm not playing 2 pro-ams every week. I might play 1. What do I do when I don't play that day? Do I get it on a Monday night? Do I get it on a Tuesday? It's all of that, and I'm still trying to figure it out. I mean, as all of them told me, good to have you, Rook. I mean, because I am. I mean, I'm a Rook. Yeah. It's one of the only professions where when you turn 50, you become one of the youngest.
Yeah.
Nice, Zach. So I'm more of I'm a stats guy. I'm really into the history of the game.
He's the stats guy. Let's be clear. He's the
Fair.
Stats guy.
Yeah.
So after the 2015 Open Championship, my favorite list that have maybe been able to surface in golf over the last, 20 years I've been doing this, were the players to win an Open at St. Andrews and win at Augusta National.
Yeah.
The list is, and I'll just read it because it'll be fun to see your face as I read it. Sam Snead, Jack Nicklaus, Seve Ballesteros, Nick Faldo, Tiger Woods, and Zach Johnson. So 1, do you ever get tired of hearing that fact? And 2, what is your favorite memory from that special week? It's probably my favorite place on the planet, but that week at St. Andrews where you got that win.
Yeah, that's so kind. which one's not like the other, as they say, right? You know,
That's the company you keep, man.
Yeah,
They'll never be able to
it
take
is what it
away.
is. It is what it is.
Can't change that history. I'm grateful for it. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that, immediately after it, but I'm reminded by it every now and again. Not frequently, but it's a nice reminder. I mean, it's an unbelievable reminder. I mean, I never did I dream that far. So, that week, full transparency. I mean, Augusta's Augusta. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's hallowed grounds. It is the Masters. It is rich and all of that. My favorite tournament to compete in has always been the Open, and it's probably, well, for a few reasons. I think number one, if you can get your feet on those venues, you just really appreciate how the game started. I mean,
Yeah.
it hasn't changed a whole lot over there as far as topography and aesthetics. Like it is what it is. Mother Nature has her way, and it's brown, it's green, or it's somewhere in between, right? And that's fine. And I love that. I just love the natural nuance of that. That's the way it's supposed to be. So that, coupled with the fact that we just don't have courses like that over here, it requires everything. It requires, you say you got to hit it low because of the wind and the bouncing and rolling, and you do. You got to be able to navigate that left to right, right to left, but you got to be able to hit it high, and you got to be able to land it soft. I mean, you got to do everything. And so I just appreciate what the Open requires. And when you leave there, you know exactly what you need to work on and what's good. So, and I knew that, before 2015, I had some decent weeks over there, and I always thought it was one week where I could really make a mark in the majors, just because I have the tendency to kind of keep the golf course in front of me. And that's always been one that I think that notion really helps. And so, I mean, that week, if I go back to it and reminisce, yeah, the week before I was furious because I felt like I should have won and let one go at the John Deere Classic. Had every opportunity to win that one and didn't. And furious is a strong word, but I was pretty pissed. My wife was with me. She didn't go to many Opens, and she was with me. And my sports psychologist, Dr. Mo, was with me. And I'm like, man, you're not happy. And so I had to get over it pretty quick. And fortunately I did. My game was in good shape. I mean, that goes without saying. And so, once I was able to clear, as golfers, you have to turn the page.
Yeah.
At the shortest amount of time, whether it's shot to shot, whole day to day, week to week. I mean, you have to turn the page. And so, I've obviously got accustomed to that. And I feel like I'm pretty good at it. And I did it. I did it well that week, fortunately. And that week surpassed any and all expectations, if I'm going to be blunt.
Well, yeah, listen, I can't speak for Justin, but going to the Open was the favorite thing I've ever done in my career. Just being there and understanding the history of the game, and just like for me, it's truly an Open, like in the sense that they don't sell out. You show up, you got a ticket. I love that about the Open Championship. And Zach, as we're having this conversation about the history of the game and winning on that hallowed ground, the history of the game feels like it's about to be changing with Brian Rolap's press conference tomorrow. What's going to be there? What's not going to be there? Yeah. What are your concerns about maybe the way things are headed on the PGA Tour, and what are you expecting to learn tomorrow?
Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't, given it a ton of thought as of late. I am a traditionalist in a lot of ways. Probably, definitely a PGA Tour loyalist to the nth degree. I've talked to Brian. Great guy. I mean, I say that I've talked to him more than once. Been in a couple meetings, if you will. I'm certainly not going to say I'm privy to, the back office of everything. I'm not on the board anymore. I did serve my time. Not on any committees. I did like those. Those were fun. But, I think, life is about change. There's also evolution in things. And I understand that. I do understand that we have a lot of things we have to check off a list. and those check marks need to be. You have to pay attention to each and every one of them. They're very significant. We are entertainment. We have to satisfy our partners, our constituents. We wouldn't be playing without them. So you have to check that one off. You have a congregation of players that really do make up the tour. We're a membership group. You have to check that one off the list, and there's more. I'm sure there's more, but those seem to be the three big ones. And maybe another one. I mean, I throw one in. I would love to honor history and tradition and why things were formed the way they were. Golf is an amazing platform, and that's how it started. We started going to communities to do all what I just said, and then serve those communities, right? Stewardship. So
Yeah.
I think if you take those four things and make those the priority, you can still change and evolve with the times. Now, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think any of us really do. And heck, maybe Pontevedra still doesn't really know. But I do see some of the writing on the wall. I do appreciate that, things have moved and changed, some forces that we aren't in control of. And so to balance all of those elements is extremely difficult. And I've always been one that I trust the individuals there. Certainly, Brian and his team, certainly our independent directors who are extremely savvy and know what they're doing, given the industries that they're all in. And there's a reason why they're serving on our board, and they are serving. I mean, they are serving for the betterment of the game of golf, professional golf. And then I also trust my peers. So that may be naive, but I don't have a choice. And so as an individual where the PGA Tour gave me everything that I could ever desire and want in my profession and more, side note, caveat, thank you, Tiger Woods, I have to trust them. And so I'm of that faction. And so I may not like it. I mean, it's like things in the world right now. I don't have to agree with everything, but I'm going to respect it. And I believe in the end, if they can keep the core, kind of those principles I just mentioned, but then really just maintain the beauty of the platform of the game of golf. Like we talk about it. They talk about it every week on TV, the AT&T and the community it serves, and what the waste management does with the monies they raise, et cetera, et cetera. Well, it's legitimate. I mean, I sit on the board of the John Deere Classic. The monies that go to those communities around that area is instrumental and pivotal. So that's not including, all the foundations and charities that all of us players have attachments to, in some other avenue. Like, it's an amazing game. And so I just hope, and I'm pretty confident, I just hope that none of those notions are lost.
Yeah, it's a juggling act. And by the way, that might have been the greatest side note caveat drop in ever. Thank you, Tiger Woods. I mean, that was chef's
I'm
kiss.
also a realist, and and my boy T-Dub.
Yeah,
it may not have been on purpose, but I appreciated his purpose in working. I'll just say that.
Everybody wins. That is the phrase. Everybody wins. What's a high tide rises all ships, right? That's
100%.
That was 100%. The Tiger Woods effect.
And he's going to play in the PGA Tour Champions, according to Zach Johnson. I have no idea, but if he does, that tide's going to go up too. But anyway.
Well, I will tell you, I talked to Nota Begay on this podcast, and he thinks Tiger will participate. I don't know to what level, but I think that is something that's going to happen. Okay,
Zach,
I was going to ask something.
There's a 100% chance that gets aggregated. So just so you know.
Yeah, but since I was going to ask something else, but before I do that, since you mentioned caveat, thank you, Tiger Woods, and obviously the history of winning at the Open, and you just laid that out perfectly why that was so special. The idea of being able to stare down Tiger at Augusta in 2007 has to be an off the charts experience for you.
Yeah, off the charts, off the rails, off it all. Like, I mean, it was, there's certain things that I remember vividly, and I didn't really have to stare him down, thankfully, because I was a couple groups in front of him. However, I mean, throughout the day, I told my caddy, I'm just not going to look at the leaderboard because I mean, it's just not necessary. I know who's behind me. I know his record, and I can hear it.
Yeah.
I essentially feel it, right? Um, so I'm just gonna stay. I'm gonna stay in my lane. I'm gonna stay in my fairway. I'm gonna go about it that way. Unfortunately, it worked out like that. But I mean, I remember on 15 green, I walked off 15 green. I made par on 15, and I'm walking to 16 T, and at that point, I'm like, all right, D, I probably need to know where we're at now. I mean,
Yeah.
I birdied the last 2 out of 3. I kind of sense it. You feel it from the fans, the patrons, as to what's kind of going on. And there was a point in there on 15 where there was this crescendo roar. You knew it was coming from 13. There's only one individual that can hit a shot with that amount of base and electricity. And so I knew something happened there, obviously an eagle. um, and so I'm like, I gotta know where we're at. Like, he's like, well, we got a couple. And I'm like, we got a couple. What does that mean? He's like, well, we're up 2. I'm like, what? Anyway, and so then I looked at the board and I'm like, okay, yeah, he just made eagle and we're still up 2. And so then it was like, oh, this is real. Like this, okay, we are literally in every kid's dream right now. So at that point, I was still pretty calm. If I go back to it, I mean, I think about the piece I had was pretty profound, and I don't want to say it was out of body because I really felt good. Like I could feel.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I had electricity going through me all the time. I felt pretty good. It was in control. So making a birdie on 16, knowing that, was probably one of the best shots and putts I've ever executed. I 3-putted 17, but at that point I'm like, okay, I still, I'm still in it. And then 18, just getting done with the day and making a par was massive. And so, I remember tapping in on 18. Thankfully, it was about that far, and I'm like, okay, I got to get ready for a playoff. That was
Yeah.
my mentality. Like, playoff is possible. I mean, I could lose, but I could maybe be in a playoff. I had no idea what was going to happen. They were so far behind me, and there's a reason behind that, but neither here nor there. And so that was my mentality. And I went into the clubhouse, kissed my 4-month-old, who's now 19, and went in the clubhouse
Wow.
and just kind of got situated, got my wits about me, and then Tiger didn't birdie 17, so he's still 2 back going into 18. I'm like, okay, I'll just watch. And I'm telling you right now, going back to what you said, Trey, like he never ceases to amaze any. Like he does it all,
Yeah.
whether it's a chip,
Yeah.
a putt. I'm like, he's gonna make his second shot on 18. He's gonna make it, and it didn't go in. It landed on the green, and my manager turned to me and goes, "You just won the Masters." And I'm like, "Oh, it had not hit me." I'm like,
Yeah.
"This is it." That was surreal. That was the most surreal time that I've experienced in my job. I stood up. I remember hugging my manager Brad, and then I looked to my right. This is where it gets weird. And I shook hands with some people, and I shook hands with Boris Becker. And I'm like, why is Boris Becker in the men's locker room at Augusta National on Sunday?
To see Zach Johnson,
Well,
clearly.
I mean that was the extent of that exchange right there. And so then I'm whisked away, and the rest is obviously history. But a surreal moment, a moment that all right, I'm gonna move my camera. This
What do you
this is
got?
the best part of that story. I'm kind of going
Oh,
to take you,
good.
but that's okay.
No, it's all good.
You get whisked away. You're doing media, obviously. You're doing
Yeah.
all of the pleasantries and necessities that you have to do after a win, and obviously the green jacket ceremony and all of that. Like it was amazing. About 2 hours after everything, you get the I'd say the honor of going in and having a toast with the membership as your champion. I didn't know that, and so it's maybe 2 hours. And so at that point, again, I'm in a whirlwind, and my wife's with me. We have family and friends there. They're all in the Butler cabin having beers and having what you should be doing. And so we go into this cocktail party, and the membership toasts you and presents you with a gift. And so I don't know how long they've been doing it. I'm under the assumption they still do something similar or whatnot, but this is what they present. I don't have any of my trophies. I don't have anything. Like they're all in Iowa, but there's
Yeah.
certain things I'm just not going to part with, and this is one of them. I'm going to turn right there and look up. I don't know if you can see that, but that is a collage of my week at Augusta.
Oh, wow.
Me and
Nice.
my wife twice, and then me up top kissing my 4-month-old. And I'm not going to part
That's
with that.
incredible.
Yeah,
It's
that's awesome.
incredible. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's what I remember going back to 2007. And I mean, I'll never forget it. It sits right there.
Well,
So, Zach,
listen,
you
go
know,
ahead,
go ahead.
Justin.
All
No,
right,
Justin,
real
go
quick. I
ahead.
know we had you on for really long. We really appreciate your time.
Sure.
That performance in 2007 is one of the great to me in the history of sports. Sticking to your game plan, not deviating from it, and executing to just perfection. I mean, executing to victory. Right. You mentioned, thank goodness Tiger wasn't playing with me. He was a few groups behind. I was a few groups behind. If Tiger's in that final group with you, do you think you still lay up on every par five? Do you think your approach changes a little bit in that different setting now that we're 20 years down the road almost?
I would imagine. Like, fortunately, I had played with him a fair amount prior to that. You know, we were the same age, but
Yeah.
I had experienced the Tiger effect, and my recollection is certainly when he was already having massive successes, was that you just get caught up watching, and you're like, oh shoot, it's my turn to hit. Like, I mean, that really was kind of it, right? Like you're watching every little idiosyncrasy about him. His nuance, like what's he doing and how he does it, the rhythm of it, the tempo of it, all of it. Like, that's just what you're staring at. So had I been with him on Sunday at Augusta, I have no idea what would have happened. I was playing with one of my good friends, thankfully, an Augusta resident, Vaughn Taylor, that day. So probably the most ideal pairings and, comfortable pairings. And so there's something to be said about that. Now, I don't know. I don't think
it's
I would.
It's an impossible question. Yeah, it's possible.
No, yeah, it's a good question. I mean, everybody's under the assumption that my game plan was to not go for the par fives. Well, that really wasn't exactly how it went. It's just the way it worked. It was a really trying week. I shot one over.
Yeah.
I mean, Sunday,
one of the coldest Masters weeks ever, right?
Yeah.
What's that?
One of the coldest weeks ever at the Masters.
I think it's got to be way up there. During competition, it never got above 55. I mean, right. Saturday was awful. I shot 76 I shot 4 over on Saturday and moved up. So
yeah,
that's not hard math.
No, it isn't. That's a great story. I'm still flummoxed by the Boris Becker part of it.
I know, seriously.
that of all, I'm going down my Zach Johnson interview notes and bingo card. Boris Becker is nowhere. He's nowhere on the list. So you threw a curveball at us. Congratulations. Well done.
It's a fact. So there you go.
That's awesome. Well, listen, Zach, we appreciate the time. We appreciate your insights, and congratulations again on your debut on the Champions Tour, coming away with a win. And who knows? Maybe we'll get you and Tiger squared off in a Champions event on a final round and see how it all plays out.
You know what? I would love to bump carts. That'd be great.
Trade and paint on the seat. Trade and paint like they do in NASCAR on the Champions Tour. Zach, take care, buddy. Always good to hear from you, and continued success.
Thanks, gentlemen. I appreciate you. I love your show.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Zach Johnson with us, fresh off his debut on the Champions Tour, coming away with a win. Boris Becker and trading carts and bumping paint. Who knew? All in one show. Lots more to come on Golf Live. Stay with us. We're coming right back. Hey, just a reminder, Golf Live with me, Trey Wingo, is live every Tuesday now at 4 o'clock Eastern. That's 1 o'clock Pacific and 11 a.m. Hawaiian. It's me and the great Justin Ray, who is the Tiger Woods of golf researchers, breaking down everything happening in golf each week across the globe. We'll also have guests, and we're reacting to your questions in real time. So if you want to actually be a part of the conversation instead of just watching clips later, join us live Tuesdays, 4 o'clock Eastern, Trey Wingo Golf on YouTube with the great Justin Ray. Hey, before we get to the next segment, just want to clue you in on something. If you've got a question for us, do us a favor, throw it in the super chat right here on YouTube. And I mean this, we answer every single super chat, not just the ones that are easy, not just the ones that are flattering, because we don't really have any of those. We'll answer all of them. If you're taking the time to support the show, the least we can do is respond. Just let's make sure it's not anything profane, because, it's a family show. So if you've got something on your mind, drop it here in the super chat and we will respond. All right, good people, I need a small favor from you here. If you're watching this and you're enjoying it, hit that like button on YouTube, repost it on X or Twitter, and leave a comment wherever you're listening from. It really does help the show grow. Leave a comment. I read them sometimes. I probably shouldn't, but I do. We all have guilty pleasures. And make sure you subscribe to both channels, Trey Wingo and Trey Wingo Golf, and hit the bell so you know when something new drops. We're building some really special things and doing it the right way, and I need you to stay on top of it. Do these things, and we'll all grow together. So if you consider yourself more of an audio person, look, I totally get it. The Trey Wingo Network is now available on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, etc., 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 wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen in the car, gym, on a walk, wherever you carve out that little space where you need to just get away from everything. Same conversations, just without the camera. Hey, subscribe across. And we are back on Golf Live. Trey Wingo here with Justin Ray. Great catching up with Zach Johnson, fresh off his win, and the Boris Becker story. Again, I'm always hopeful we get something that I was not expecting, and I did not expect Boris Becker to come up in that conversation. And I don't think you had your research packet on that either, did you?
No, not at all. But we're better for it, aren't we?
We certainly are. So thanks to Zach for joining us. Lots to get to still here, including the Arnold Palmer Invitational, where Daniel Berger was trying to go wire to wire, first time since Jason Day, I believe, in 2015. Is that what it was?
Correct. When he was world number one, that was the last guy to go wire to wire at Bay Hill.
Yeah. By the way, side note: Jason Day's battle with Jordan Spieth at the PGA at Whistling Straits that year was one of the best clinical driving exhibitions I've ever seen from two guys battling it down the stretch. They were both striping it in the middle. So Daniel comes up short and made a huge par on 18 to force the playoff. Akshay comes through, his third PGA Tour win. And Justin, you had it. The numbers that he put up around the green and on the green were absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, it wasn't just making a ton of putts. It was also he putted in from off the fringe several times. His chipping was brilliant. If you combine strokes gained around the green and strokes gained putting, I'll call it strokes gained short game. He had the single best week of any PGA Tour winner that they've ever had since they started tracking. It goes back to 2004. Yeah, I think it was a full shot better than anybody else. Patrick Reed at WGC Mexico years back was the guy he passed in terms of that quasi-obscure record. But the other big thing for Akshay, he was so bad off the tee for most of the week. But coming down the stretch, he hit 10 of his last 11 fairways, if you include the playoff. And that's really what gave him the fuel to hit those great approach shots and make that big charge to catch Daniel Berger. And speaking of Berger, I take a lot of positives away from it. I know he
absolutely
would have liked to win in the playoff, but led the field in strokes gained approach. He's now the only player on the PGA Tour to lead two different events this season in that very important statistic. So I think that's a sign of really good things to come for Daniel Berger. Get back in the heat of competition for the first time, really, since he missed all that time with injury. It was a great finish. It was kind of a snoozer. I was thinking for about 9 holes to go. I'm like, all right, Daniel Berger's going to walk this in easy. But the PGA Tour always delivers late on Sunday, and it really did at Bay Hill. That was a heck of a finish.
It sure was. And I don't think you can say enough about what you just said about Daniel Berger. This is a guy who has always had the talent, but has just had to deal with so many injuries. You know, I really think he's one of those guys that people have sort of forgotten how good he can be. And I think he showed us again at Bay Hill.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I mentioned the approach play. He's got major championship contention, winning level, ball striking abilities. If he's healthy and his putter's hot, he can win the biggest championships in the world. He was a 54-hole leader at the U.S. Open not too long ago. It's great to see him get back into contention, get back into this good form. It's really hard to win a golf tournament. It's almost impossible to win it wire to wire on the PGA Tour. He just kind of ran out of magic down the stretch and actually came and caught him. But I take nothing but positives out of the week for Daniel Berger.
No question. And I think we'll see him consistently be up atop the leaderboard if he continues to play the way he has been playing. Speaking of other people playing well, it finally happened. Jon Rahm won a live event. Not his team, but Jon Rahm won an individual event for the first time since 2024. What do you make of Jon Rahm's performance in Hong Kong?
First of all, he started the week by arranging a plane to get players out of the Middle East, which is obviously a chaotic situation for everyone involved and a lot more important things going on than golf there. But John was able to get the players, I think it was a plane out of Qatar or somewhere to get them to Hong Kong and caps the week with, great play and a victory. And from a golf course perspective, look, he had a chance against Anthony Kim and Bryson DeChambeau a couple of weeks ago. And Anthony Kim put together just a mind-boggling finish to get the win. anything we can have that's building up this narrative as we get closer to Augusta National. Great players playing really well. A guy who is a Masters winner and has contended several other times. Like, it doesn't really change the way I see him, because I always see him as one of the favorites going into the biggest tournaments in the world. But good to see him follow through, get a win, and cap off what was a kind of a crazy week for Live Golf.
Well, it is interesting, right, that you mentioned a former Masters champion, and good to see John playing well. But, it was in 2003 when he won that Masters. It felt like it was Rahm representing the PGA Tour and trying to stave off live guys like Brooks Koepka, who were trying to win yet another major. And just a few years later, how that whole script has been completely flipped.
And now Brooks is the PGA Tour's
Exactly
shining knight coming back to TPC Sawgrass. Yeah, it's a crazy time to cover the sport, as you know as well as anybody. It's never a dull moment, man.
Content is always king. And right now, the PGA Tour is doing their best to rival the NFL and giving us constant content all the time. So again, congratulations to John getting back in the winning form, and also congratulations doing what he can to get players there and get them safe. And we'll see what happens going forward as we ramp up towards Augusta. All right, lots more coming, including getting to your questions. So stay with us. We're coming right back on Golf Live right after this break. Hey, if you're new here, first of all, welcome. We're glad you found us. We launched this platform really at the beginning of September, late August in 2025, right before the start of the Ryder Cup, which did not go well for the U.S., but this platform has gone way better than we thought it would. It's grown so fast, we really can't believe it. We've had incredible conversations with so many people across sports. Justin Thomas and Kevin Kisner, Brandel Chambly, Dan Lanning, Mike Elko, Daniel Jones, just to name a few. And here's what I'll say. Our conversations are different. It's not the same stuff you'll see everywhere else. We try and take you behind the curtain a little bit to get to know the people we're talking to, instead of just asking them rote questions about their last round of golf or their next game. We go a little bit deeper to get real information. No bits, no bullshit, just a ball podcast. And if you've just found us, there's a huge library of conversations waiting for you to consume. We hope you enjoyed them. Hey, before we get to the next segment, just want to clue you in on something. If you've got a question for us, do us a favor, throw it in the super chat right here on YouTube. And I mean this, we answer every single super chat, not just the ones that are easy, not just the ones that are flattering, because we don't really have any of those. We'll answer all of them. If you're taking the time to support the show, the least we can do is respond. Just let's make sure it's not anything profane, because, it's a family show. So if you've got something on your mind, drop it here in the super chat and we will respond. All right, good people, I need a small favor from you here. If you're watching this and you're enjoying it, hit that like button on YouTube, repost it on X or Twitter, and leave a comment wherever you're listening from. It really does help the show grow. Leave a comment. I read them sometimes. I probably shouldn't, but I do. We all have guilty pleasures. And make sure you subscribe to both channels, Trey Wingo and Trey Wingo Golf, and hit the bell so you know when something new drops. We're building some really special things and doing it the right way, and I need you to stay on top of it. Do these things, and we'll all grow together. All right, as we continue here on this edition of Golf Live, Trey Wingo here with Justin Ray. In our final segment, we got a couple of questions that our fine field producer, Duncan, is going to make sure we get in front of us. But before we do that, it is sort of the big anticipatory thing before Thursday's opening round. And we talked about it with Zach Johnson a little bit. It feels like we're going to learn a lot about the future of the PGA Tour tomorrow when Brian holds his press conference at 10 a.m., Brian Rolap, the new CEO of the PGA Tour. Justin, how revolutionary, I don't know if that's the word, or how different do you think things are going to look after what we hear tomorrow?
Well, I think we've talked so much about this press conference and what could possibly come of it over the last several weeks, months, that it's almost impossible for it to live up to the expectation.
Wouldn't it be great if he said, just kidding, everything stays the same. We'll see you in January.
See you in Maui. I mean, look, I think we're definitely going to learn a few things, but I think to get every answer to every question we have is probably a little bit too much to expect. I'm interested to hear about the philosophy about the schedule moving forward. That's probably the predominant thing for me. This concept of scarcity that they've talked about is really the antithesis of how the tour is operated for 50, 60 years. And if they really are committed to that, what are they able to reveal? I mean, and there's so many complicated issues tied to that, whether it's long-term sponsorships for some of these events, sponsors who are promised one thing, and now are they kind of getting that B field level, that they didn't necessarily pay for? They paid for more. I'm as interested as anybody, and I don't exactly know what to expect, but I'm hoping we get some more clarity on what the schedule is going to look like in 27 and beyond.
Yeah, and again, I don't think we'll get all the answers tomorrow. I think it might be, Brian knows how to slow drip information. He came from the NFL, right? In the weeks leading up to free agency, what did the NFL do? Oh, we're playing a game in Australia. Oh, this team's doing this. Just give me a little hit. Just give me a little hit. Give you a little hit. So it might be a situation where he announces some things, and we'll have another press conference where he announces some other things. So we'll see how that all shakes out. Okay, Duncan, we got some comments that you want to share with us, some questions from some of the listeners. Go ahead.
All right, we got from John in Phoenix, what is happening with Morikawa's wedges?
What is happening with Morikawa's wedges, Justin?
I mean, they couldn't have been that bad the last 3 weeks. His last 3 tournaments, he's finished first, fifth, and seventh. He's like 45 under par in his last 3 tournaments. He's on a streak of 12 straight rounds under par. He's got to be one of the top 5 favorites going to the Players' Championship this week. Without great context within that question, I don't have a perfect answer what's going on with his wedges. I do know he's been playing some really good golf, and I would not be surprised if he won this week at the Players' Championship. I will say it's great to see him back in his iron full flight form. He's back in the top 10 in strokes gained tee to green. He's always one of the most accurate drivers on tour. And look, you're looking at a guy who, if he just putts average, he's going to be in contention on Sunday.
Yeah, look, he's one of the best iron players there is on tour.
Yep. Point blank.
So maybe he doesn't use his wedges that often because his irons are so good that he doesn't have to use his wedges. Who knows, John in Phoenix, what the context was of that comment, but we appreciate it. Duncan, hit us with another one.
From Mike in Birmingham, do you think the way Sawgrass is set up is about making it more in line with the difficulty of major courses?
That's a great, John. Thank you for that. And I think that's what they're trying to do. I mean, Justin, we talked about at the top of the show. We've seen the rough at TPC Sawgrass, and it certainly looks a lot different than it has in recent years.
Yeah, it looks closer to Oakmont than Waialae, that's for sure. I mean, it's
correct.
It looks juicy this week, and we talked about how two of the last 4 Players Champions ranked as the 2 lowest fairways hit among those winners all time at TPC Sawgrass. And I don't think we're going to see that this week. You got to hit it in the fairway in order to contend. They've really kind of amped that up, and I don't think that's any coincidence with that might be the genuine aspect of this kind of marketing campaign, or one of them, and not just what they say at the beginning of commercials. So I'm really interested to see how dialed in these guys have got to be in terms of accuracy and how it's going to impact the leaderboard this week.
Yeah, it's never, like you said, it's never a dull moment, and there's a million ways to get it done. We just got to figure out what the code is this year for 4 rounds at TPC Sawgrass. All right, before we get out of here, if you had to pick one person that you think is going to walk away with it, who are you going with?
I'm going to pick Hideki Matsuyama. He is the only player with 4 more top 10s at TPC Sawgrass since 2016. Over the last 5 years, he's averaging almost 5 birdies per round on this course. Plenty of good course history. He's got some good ball striking numbers. And look, since the beginning of 2020, no player has gained more strokes around the green per round on the PGA Tour than Collin Morikawa. This is a golf course where everybody's going to miss greens in regulation. That becomes a little bit more significant this week. If I've got to make one pick, it's Hideki Matsuyama. If I could say one more guy, it's a guy who struggled a little bit coming down the stretch Sunday at Bay Hill, Sepp Straka, one of the better performers of the Players over the last several years. So if I've got to go 1A, 1B, Hideki is my one, and Sepp is a little bit below that.
All right, I'm going to go sort of out of the box here. I'm going to go with Ben Griffin, and I have some great numbers because I got them from you. 3 players last season ranked in the top 20 on tour in both strokes gained, tee to green, and putting. It was Rory McIlroy, Tommy Fleetwood, and Ben Griffin. And as you said, this is a complete test this week, so he has every aspect of his game when he's right. He also showed us a new way to get around the trees in front of the 6 tee box, going through the gap on the left, and even instead of trying to flight something over. Anybody that can be that creative on that course, I like their chances. So I'll pick Ben Griffin, somewhat of an outlier, and we'll see what happens. Justin, always good to talk to you, my friend. And for everybody watching on Twitter or YouTube, thanks for being a part of the show. Again, keep those questions coming. We do want to hear from you, and we will respond. And we'll see what happens at the Players, and we'll see what happens with Brian Roloff's press conference Wednesday morning. And hopefully we'll see all of you back here next week on Golf Live, Tuesday, 4 o'clock Eastern. For Justin, Duncan, and Anita, and everybody with the show, I'm Trey Wingo. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.